Hello and welcome back to the podcast, We Are Selling. When we look at agent education and having people understand what's going on in the trenches, our next guest is perfectly positioned to give you the full story of what happens on a daily coaching life of a sales manager, sales leader. And the Director of Sales of Image Property in Brisbane is Adam Ingham. Adam, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Lee.
Adam, how many agents are you currently coaching and leading?
Yeah, we've got 97 within the group at the moment, mate, with a few more starting in the not too distant future. So we'll crack that magic 100 and raise the bat for the century in the not too distant future.
That's an amazing growth for the company over the last 12 months. So well done there.
Yeah,
Adam,
thanks, mate.
You've got all types of agents, which I really like. And that's not unusual when you've got 95 people. When you look at the current marketplace, what's some of your daily conversations that you're having to assist, progress and coach the agents?
Yeah, mate, I think a big one at the moment is the lack of stock. So there's a lot of conversation around the traps at the moment around listings are tight and where do I get my next one, or how do I get this one progressing to market because they're in pipeline but they've got concern about getting to market because they've got nowhere to go. That's a pretty consistent conversation, Lee. And my advice there is, well, first and foremost, if that's the conversation most are having, stop having it. And you need to start focusing on what is there rather than what's not. And I think that's a tendency to take a focus to a positive and to focus on the fact that even based on percentage, mate, like we look at 20 to 30% down in stock in some markets, and it's quite segmented too. There's other markets where it's the same. But ultimately, this time last year, out of the 10, there was still 8. So why don't we focus on how do we get the 8 and what do we need to do there rather than worrying about the 2 that aren't? So it's really drawing the agent's focus to the fact that there is still abundance, there is still plenty of opportunity out there, and then what are the actions that we need to do to secure this business?
So interesting that when we look at where business comes from and the real business, there's so much leakage always in the fact that we don't have an established client program. And I know with your team, Adam, there's been a lot of focus on that this year so that we love the one we're with. What do you feel's worked there best, and what did the team learn from going back into the data versus chasing strangers?
Yeah, mate, we're very firm on our data and our data set that goes into the CRM, and we treat it as such that we're not just putting random data in there hoping that one day we might win that business. The only data that's going into the CRM is established relationship. And that's an established relationship based on bought and sold from us in the past, or we have a commission-based relationship to stay in touch. The next thing that we do, and that I really encourage the guys to do, is track their sources. So where did that business actually come from? So that when and if listings are tight or they're a little uncertain as to where to go, we can quickly run a report to go, well, there are your strengths. Here are the sources that are working for you, so that's your go-to. And the other thing too, mate, is that I don't expect the guys to be excellent at everything. I just want them to be awesome at 3 to 5. So when you look at the volume of sources that are available in market, that you are much better off being a master of a few than a jack of all trades. So that's where when we know what are their strengths and what are their go-tos, then they're just encouraged to go straight back to it. And funnily enough, whenever they do, then open the floodgates, here they come.
Adam, what's been the strongest listing streams across the group? And I know it changes with the personality and age of the agent, but what are you noticing as the best listing streams?
There's a wonderful opportunity in buyer inquiry and open for inspections, and that's not new news. It's just a focus point. Like we really have an attitude of a buyer is guilty of owning a property until proven innocent. So treat everybody as if they own a property. So that service that you provide must be impressive. It must be the best experience in property. And then should they have something, then they're going to openly have that conversation with you because they're impressed about how in which you go about it. So the service associated to buyer inquiry and open for inspection, that's a wonderful source of business for us. Secondary to that too, what also is working well for the guys is a little bit more of a generic source is anniversary data. The amount of people that have transacted out there in a marketplace in an agent's core market that have never heard from the agent that sold it to them before is that when you go and introduce yourself, sometimes if you have a great conversation, they think you're the agent that sold it to them anyway. So it's a great way to establish a relationship and get that permission-based relationship moving forward to get it into the CRM to go on a nurturing journey moving forward. That's been excellent. And mate, the final one is the digital assessment, the price updates. Doing that consistently day in, day out, get your 10 to 15 out there and then speak to the ones that are opening through the notifications. That's been a tremendous source of business as well. So they'd be the top three right now, mate. And you're right, it does change. There's no doubt about that. But those three are pretty consistent.
Adam, great information. So good. We're going to get you back next week where we want to discuss listening conversations and rebuilding your presentation. And
Yep.
I think that's a great one for you as you have just gone as a leader, brought all the agents together. What are we saying? What we're doing? I came up and did the advanced listing workshop for you guys as well. But you've then said, okay, we're rebuilding, we're reinventing, and we'd love to know how you've gone about that and what you want agents to get out of the new conversation and how that works. But Adam, thank you for joining us.
Not a worry at all, Lee. Pleasure.